Hello, everyone. Welcome back to From the Stands. This is the College Football Game Day Show, and this is the part two of our bowl game specials. This year, we got 17 bowl games on the slate for this episode, and then a CFP quarterfinal episode coming up right after this. Check this out after you finish this one. On top of me, Mr. Andy Hopper. Below me, in sunny, nice 65-degree weather, Florida is Tom Scavetta visiting my home state. But first up on the board, we have the Fenway Bowl. It is UConn taking on UNC. Andy, start us off in this part two episode. What do you think of this Fenway Bowl?
Yeah, another one of those college football games we're seeing at a historic baseball venue. My team played one of those earlier this year, but we have UNC and UConn here. UConn is just 2.5-point underdogs in this game, but I think they are that for a reason. Jacoby Criswell, under center for North Carolina, has been, all right this year. 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 254 yards, or 2,452 yards on the year. And Marion Hampton is a really big threat out of the backfield with 1,600 yards, 15 touchdowns. Can also hurt you out of the backfield, too, with 36 catches. I will take the Tar Heels.
All right, Tom.
So just got to update it. So Hampton has declared for the draft, will not play in this bowl game. However, though, the Huskies this year have been very, very impressive. I think this is going to be a tight game. Freddie Kitchens coaching the bowl game for UNC. We'll see if Belichick keeps him on his staff heading into next season. We know his son Steve is joining as the DC. For the Tar Heels, the tipping point for me, 4 defenders with 6+ sacks. They can get to the QB. I like the Tar Heels to cover that spread and fulfill one of the legs in Brian McCardle's crumbling parlay.
It is indeed crumbling as we speak here. Thank you, Texas Tech. But yeah, I will preface the rest of these games by saying, yeah, we're recording this on the 27th here. Obviously, some of these players will be declaring for the draft. You'll probably get, I'm sure, more of those calls from Andy and Tom as we go on in the notes here about players who have declared in the last hours, days, because it's happening just about every 15 minutes here. But yeah, for UConn, they're having one of the best seasons in recent memory. They haven't had a 10-win season since 2010. They played 9-3 Duke really close. They lost to number 21 Syracuse just by a touchdown, and only one loss at home. So they're still in their home court area-ish, playing in Fenway in Boston there. And they're a fairly good team. On defense, they've got a really good duo, Jaden McDonald and Tui Fumiana Brown. 101 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, and 3.5 sacks for the former. 86, 7, and 4.5 for the latter there. But yeah, I'm going to give the edge to the Tar Heels. They've got Bill Belichick coming in, like you guys just mentioned. I think this is kind of a showcase game for the players that are still going to be on this UNC team next year, so they're going to be putting it all on the field. They do not have Omari Hampton, as Tom just let us know, but Jacoby Criswell at QB. Not very accurate, but he's still been able to throw for about 2,500 yards and 15 TDs, so they probably got the deeper roster here. Like I said, they want to show off for Mr. Belichick coming in, so I'm going to go UNC as well. Next up on the slate, still the 28th here, we have the Bad Boy Motors Pinstripe Bowl. It is Nebraska taking on Boston College. This is our nooner game of the 28th. Andy, who do you like here?
Yeah, another one in a baseball stadium. We got a theme here to start the show. So this is Nebraska's first bowl game since 2016. That was the longest drought in the Power Four. So they are definitely looking to end their season on a high note here. I believe they already have 8 guys in the transfer portal. Not like what you really want to hear if you are a Nebraska fan or on the Nebraska staff. They did boast a pretty solid defense. I believe they were top 20 most of the year. I think it's going to be cold, wet, and rainy, so I don't expect a lot of scoring defensive battle here. Give me the Huskers.
All right, Tom?
Yeah, Corn and the Bronx in New York City don't go together very well. So I'm actually going to go the other way and take Boston College. Yes, Thomas Castellanos is transferring to FSU. But Raiola has been inconsistent all season long, and the Huskers don't run the football well, in my opinion. I'm also really concerned who is going to protect Donovan Azir-Uwaku with 16.5 sacks this season. That's going to be a massive issue for me. He has not declared last I checked, so he will play in this game. So I like BC, Northeast bias, in the upset.
Yeah, this is going to be a very short one for me because I have a stick up my ass because one of these teams in this game stole one of our coaches who has now returned to us back to the promised land. But that did ruin us for a few years. So my notes here, Nebraska enters this game not having qualified for a bowl since 2017. Why does that year sound familiar? That is the longest active bowl drought in the Power Four conferences. All I have to say is karma has come back around. These notes are signed by all UCF fans here for this game. Go Eagles, Boston College. by a million. And Andy, I will do you one better. Not only have 8 players entered the portal for the Cornhuskers, over 24 have as of this morning. So suck it, Nebraska. Suck it, Cornhuskers fans. Let's go BC. Next up, we have the New Mexico Bowl is TCU versus Louisiana. This one's at 2:15. Andy, who do you like here?
This is a tough one because Louisiana's a 10-game winner out of the Sun Belt Conference. They played in the championship game before dropping that one. TCU comes in, obviously they're in the Big 12, but they're only the 6th place team in their conference. But they are favored by 10.5 points here. Give me the Horned Frogs. I don't know. I like Louisiana, but I think TCU is going to be too much.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, like the Horned Frogs have had a really good air raid style offense this season. They're throwing the ball around 317 yards per game, and that is credit to sophomore QB Josh Hoover. Got to cover him a little bit before the season started for work, and I was impressed with his performance this year. Completed 67% of his passes, 23 touchdowns to 10 picks. I think those numbers will continue to improve next season, and Jack Beck is a very reliable receiver for them. 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns. Remember, this team made a national title game just a couple years ago. So I really think TCU, this is going to be a huge stepping stone for them heading into next season.
Yeah, 2 offensive heavy teams here. Should be an exciting one. The matchup doesn't really look like it, especially when you put them in the New Mexico Bowl. Not one of the marquee matchups here. But both teams averaging just a hair over 33 points per game here. TCU, they skew heavily towards the pass game under QB Josh Hoover, like you just mentioned. He had 3,700 yards and 23 TDs. That was good for 7th in the nation there. 1,034 of those yards went to top receiver Jack Beck, 6'2 senior out of, you guessed it, Lafayette, Louisiana, where the Raging Cajuns campus is based. So maybe a little extra spark there for Beck to go out and win this game. But Louisiana, they can hold their own. They've got a 3-headed run game that balances out the offense. Bill Davis had 154 carries, Zylan Perry 101, and then Draylon Washington 73. They combined for 1,900 yards on the ground. So yeah, I think it should be a close one, but I'm actually going to go with the Raging Cajuns here. I think the ace in the hole, got to give it to the kickers here. They have the Lou Groza award-winning kicker this year, Kenneth Almendaris. He hit 27 of 29 attempts this year, didn't miss any kicks inside of 50, so I'm going with the underdogs here, Louisiana, and I'm going to say they do it on a game-winning field goal kick. Next up, we got the Pop-Tarts Bowl. It is number 13, Miami, taking on number 18, Iowa State. 2 teams that are probably not very happy to be in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, considering where they could have been at the end of the season. Andy, who do you like in this one?
I can't imagine why they wouldn't be. They get to the winner gets a trophy that's 50 pounds and is actually a functional toaster. The winning team gets to pick which one of the Pop-Tart mascots gets to go in the toaster, and they eat. So they are pick which one gets sacrificed. There's 3 Pop-Tart mascots this year, guys. But this is one of 3 matchups between 2 ranked teams in bowl season that's not a college football playoff game. Cam Ward, I believe, playing as of right now, but that could change in this. Iowa State, their first 10-win game or 10-win season in program history. Hats off to them for that. Got absolutely walloped by Arizona State in the Big 12 championship game. And by the way, Iowa State, why do they never wear their colors? They always wear like black and white or gray and white. They never wear maroon and gold. But give me Cam Ward in Miami. I think their offense will be too much.
All right, Tom?
Yeah, taking place in Orlando this game. So Miami should have somewhat of a home field advantage, about 3.5 hours north from where they are. Iowa State is no slouch. They have 2 1,000-yard receivers, Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. And then Rocco Becht is a young, up-and-coming QB in the NCAA. So when I look at Cam Ward, he will be playing in this game. So will Restrepo, their number 1 receiver. That's enough for me. The Canes also have 35 sacks as a team defensively. So I think that'll be too much for a young Iowa State team that, let's be real, boys, their running offense has not recovered since the departure of Breece Hall. Give me the Canes.
Yeah, Cam Ward is playing in this one. I'm not sure I understand that, honestly, but big boost to the rest of the Canes team there. If you are one of the other players that was hoping he would be behind center for you. Both programs reporting actually, in fact, that most of their rosters, it'll be mostly full on both sides of the ball. So that is good to see considering what's happening with the NIL stuff and the portal. So, but yeah, listen, Miami looked to basically set to breeze into the playoffs and lost 2 of their last 3 games, missing out on the ACC title game, missing out on the CFP entirely. Cyclones probably feeling a bit hard done as well. obviously by being in this game, missed the playoffs themselves after losing the Big 12 championship. Yeah, I mean, if Cam Ward's in the game, top QB in the class, in my opinion. I know Miami let teams stick around quite a bit, so I think this one does stay close. Yeah, Iowa State does have the 2,000-yard receivers. I'm just gonna say take the over on this one, but I will stick with Miami here. Big boost to have Cam Ward on the field with you. Next up, we have the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. A bit ironic because I think you're going to jail probably 25 to life if they catch you smoking a blunt here in Arizona. But we have Miami of Ohio taking on Colorado State. Andy, who do you like in this one?
Yeah, the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl presented by Gin and Juice. I love this. I think this will be a tough one for Miami of Ohio. They are without their two top wide receivers, Reggie Virgil and Javon Tracy. They have both entered the transfer portal. I believe Colorado State's have had a couple of their defenders go to the portal as well. That might bode a little bit better for Brett Gabbert, the Red Hawks quarterback. He's thrown for 2,737 yards and 21 passing touchdowns this year. But he is without his top two targets. So for that reason, I'm going to go with the Rams. Give me Colorado State. I believe they won 6 out of the last 7 games, and we're playing really well in the Mountain West.
All right, Tom?
Miami of Ohio fell short in the MAC title game to Ohio. I think they're upset about that. I think they get it done here, so I'm going the other way from Andy on this one. I love when we do that.
Yeah, Miami of Ohio, the end of this game is their 4th straight bowl game qualification, so that program has been on the up and up. And for Colorado State, it's been nothing but misery in the bowl games of late. Their last bowl game win for the Rams, 2013. Miami of Ohio's defense, they have been great towards the end of the season, giving up just 11.2 points per game in the last 5 games of the regular season. They did slip up in that MAC Conference Championship game. But they're coming from a tougher conference, tougher schedule. They're more battle tested, and they only finished behind CFP qualifying Boise State and 11-3 UNLV, who was also very good in that Mountain West standings. So I think they're a solid team here. And I still have a soft spot in my heart for QB Braden Fowler and Nick Losi after they embarrassed Colorado by taking them to 2 overtimes last year after all that bragging by Dion. Team with a losing record takes them basically down to the wire. So I'm going to go Colorado State here to take this one. Next up, we have the Military Bowl. It is NC State versus ECU, getting into the late day here. It is 5:45 game. Andy, who do you like in this one?
Yeah, we have the 7-5 Pirates and the 6-6 Wolfpack in this game. First meeting since 2022 for these programs. East Carolina won its final 5 games of the year after that, making that in-season coaching change. And NC State had to, wait all the way to the last game of the regular season to punch their ticket to this, Military Bowl to get to 6-6 with that 35-30 win over North Carolina. Give me East Carolina. I always like rooting for the little guys in these regional matchups. Give me the Pirates.
All right, Tom.
I would love to do that as well, but I'm also going the other way again because the Pirates don't get enough pressure. And I think NC State right now, you're looking at Davin Vann, NFL draft prospect who's going to play on Sundays. He slices and dices at the 3 technique. I think he's going to be a massive problem. This is tough, right? I don't have any troops to support in this game, but I'm rolling with NC State.
Yeah, for this one, this is an interesting one, and I'm not sure how seriously either team is going to actually take this game. Because for those who don't know, NC State opens the 2025 season at home versus ECU. So they'll go straight from this game to preparing for next season to playing each other again next August 30th. So I don't know how much they want to show their playbooks here. Maybe they could practice a few of the less common plays that they won't see in next season's game, because I think that's more of a important game, if we're being honest. This is kind of a middling bowl. You would rather have the regular season win, I think, next year over this game. So that'll be interesting. But let's keep in mind here, NC State had to go through the season with their backup QB, freshman CJ Bailey, taking over after Grayson McCall's career ended by that concussion, which was super unfortunate. But Bailey has been great back there. He's completed 64% of his passes, and only Phillip Rivers and Russell Wilson threw for more touchdowns as a freshman for the Wolfpack than Bailey at 14 touchdowns. So he has been doing well as a replacement for McCall. I think they've got enough power to overpower the little dogs here. But I do like ECU as a team, so I'm going Wolfpack. Next up, we have the Alamo Bowl. It is number 23 Colorado taking on number 17 BYU. Andy, who do you like here?
Yeah, we have the classic conference versus conference matchup in a bowl game. 2 Big 12 teams. So Colorado in this game because they're legacy Pac-12 school, and the legacy Pac-12 schools get those traditional spots that the Pac-12 schools would have got. Colorado, the superstars are playing. Travis Hunter set to play. Shedeur Sanders set to play. You have the Heisman winner in the Alamo Bowl this year going up against Kalani Sitake and his team from BYU. Give me Colorado. I think if, Deion supposedly giving his guys that might be drafted bowl game insurance if
yes.
there's some type of injury or anything. So it sounds like they're actually going to give a shit about this game, and I think they win.
All right, Tom.
One thing BYU does really well is get pressure on the quarterback. Shedeur Sanders got sacked 38 times this season. However, he's been very accurate throwing the football, although I will say I think, there's no such thing as a stat better in my opinion, but he's probably the closest thing to it. Because Big 12 defenses, as we know, are not very good, and Colorado has no running game. So I think Pat Shurmur will draw up a game plan to make Shedeur look his best. And having the Heisman winner like Travis Hunter, who is the best player on the team, and that offense will help his performance even more and potentially boost his draft stock to number one if he's not there already. Hunter and Shedeur both playing is great for Colorado. One more time going out there, Shedeur with his father. And Wetzloff had a decent season. There was a time where we thought BYU might make the CFP. But the problem is I don't think their offense will be able to keep pace with Colorado's. I think they'll keep it close early, but I think the Buffaloes will eventually pull away. Colorado wins.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I just don't think, even if they keep it close at halftime, there's just too much firepower that Deion's been able to keep here with what Andy mentioned. The off-field really story of the tape here that Deion comes out and says he's basically going to make people play the game and not transfer yet if they were planning on it or declare for the draft. And it's kind of a crazy thing to say, especially when you got guys like Travis Hunter and his own son who are going to go first round of the draft. But then they come out and say, oh well, we're going to insure everyone, which. I mean, to me, I think an NFL career is much more important, so I don't know why Sanders and Hunter are even thinking about playing this game. But yeah, they're getting their weapons. BYU's big, they're physical, they can hurt you, so I think they're maybe going to be playing a little, not scared, but light on their feet in case a big hit looks like it's coming. But when it's all said and done, the roster of the Buffaloes is just way too much. I don't think BYU, despite being a pretty good team that almost was able to sneak into the playoff, I don't think they're going to be able to stop this powerful Colorado offense. Next up, we have the Independence Bowl. This is at 9:15 p.m. It is number 22 Army, who's having a hell of a season this year, taking on Louisiana Tech, a replacement team for Marshall here. Andy, who do you like to win this one?
Yeah, Army, obviously reeling after that loss to Navy 31-13. Obviously, that's the biggest game of the year for those guys. Just, they hate to lose. But they come to this game as heavy favorites. I am glad they found a replacement for them because they definitely deserve to have a bowl game after the season they had. Bryson Daly's the story for them, right? 1,526 rush yards, 29 rush TDs on the year for the quarterback. Kanye Udo, I believe, not playing. He's in the transfer portal, committed to Arizona State, which that has got to be the craziest change of college scenery ever. West Point to Arizona State. But yeah, I'm not gonna overthink this one. Give me Army.
All right, what about you, Tom?
Yeah, 2 words here, guys. Bryson Daly, borderline Heisman finalist, almost. I would say maybe semifinalist. He's had such a good career with Army. 29 touchdowns on the year, 9 of them passing, 20 of them rushing. Awesome guy. They run the ball for 300 yards per game, 298.9 to be exact. Yeah, go Army.
Yeah, not much more to say there. Bryson Daly, obviously, all eyes are going to be on him. Very good of Louisiana Tech to fill in for Marshall, so Army can get this bowl game and strive for that 12-win season. But they're 5-7 with some really atrocious losses. So I think the Black Knights take it pretty easily here, but I'm just glad that they are getting this game on their belt because a 12-win Army would be a really cool look. Next up, moving into December 30th, you get a day off, then you get a few more bowls on the 30th. Music City Bowl, it is number 19 Missouri taking on Iowa, unranked, at 2:30 p.m. Andy, who do you like in this one?
Yeah, I think Missouri runs all over the Hawkeyes in this one. I'm not sure Iowa is going to have enough. I mean, obviously they have Caleb Johnson, who was terrific this year with 1,500 yards and 21 scores. But I think Brady Cook is definitely the better quarterback in the game, going up against Brendan Sullivan, who came in late after Iowa, it was basically a revolving door at quarterback for the Hawkeyes with just tons of injuries and stuff like that. But yeah, I think the Tigers will be too much.
All right, what about you, Tom?
Yeah, look, I think Caleb Johnson is a huge threat. I believe he's playing. Last I checked, 21 scores. Ethan Hurkett and Jay Higgins, two solid players in that front seven for the Hawkeyes. But for Mizzou, for me, it's about Nate Noel. 12 rushing scores on the season. Luther Burden opting out to prepare for the draft. Yeah, I think Brady Cook gives you the slightly better quarterback play based off that knowledge. I'm going to go with Mizzou as well.
Yeah, Mizzou kind of had like one of the oddest seasons in college football. Brady Cook was kind of like tapped to be one of the Heisman contenders. He throws for only 2,200 yards and just 9 touchdowns. Leading rusher Nate Noel, he transfers in from App State. They have high hopes for him. He only has 800 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. And then top receiver, who had a hell of a season last year, Luther Burden, who, like you said, is not playing in this game. But as far as the regular season goes, he only had 61 catches for 676 yards and 6 touchdowns. You know, nothing to scoff at, but for him, it's kind of low production. But on the other side of the ball, Iowa is Iowa. Caden McNamara barely surpassed the 1,000-yard mark, throws for only 6 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. The defense, always solid there, obviously, but the offense, absolutely anemic. I'm going to go Mizzou here in a very low-scoring, very boring game. Next up, moving into the 31st, we have the ReliaQuest Bowl. It is Michigan taking on number 11, Alabama at noon. Andy, who do you like in this one?
Yeah, so I just saw today that Khalil Mullings is not playing. He's declared for the draft, and he is kind of the only player that is worth a shit on their offense. I mean, Colston Loveland, obviously, but, you know, who's going to be throwing him the ball? Yeah, give me Bama in this one. I don't think it's going to be very close.
Tom?
Yeah, Milroe's been a beast all season long. Ryan Williams has been really solid at receiver for them. And then they have two running backs with 7 touchdowns each, and Jam Miller and Justice Haynes, who should both be coming back. Their defense, too, is very dominant. They cause turnovers a lot. Mason Graham also declared on the defensive side of the ball. That hurts them in the trenches for Michigan. So I'm going with Alabama here, and they cover.
Yeah, I think Alabama wins this one, but I will say on record that I hate both teams in this game right now. Michigan, obviously, because Michigan and Alabama, because their fans have been crying for the last week or so that they did not get into the CFP with their 3 losses, 2 of which were absolutely awful to 6-6 teams. Listen, you beat your rivals LSU and Auburn. You get your bowl game win here in my hometown stadium, and then that's good enough consolation for Alabama fans this year. Or at least it should be. Shut up. Start looking towards next season under DeBoer. You didn't get into the playoff, deal with it. I had real notes for this game, but you guys have been crying so much. I don't even know if I want to turn this one, and it's right down the street for me. But yeah, I think Alabama still wins this one pretty easily. Next up, we have the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, one of my favorite cereals as a kid growing up. Absolute unit of a mascot there. But it's Washington versus Louisville at 2 p.m. Andy, who do you think takes this one?
Yeah, give me Louisville in this game. I know they've had a few opt-outs. They're not going to be at full strength, but Washington has just been so up and down this year, after everything they lost, when DeBoer left and, the national championship game appearance. But Tyler Shuck has been really good for Louisville under center. They're super high-powered on offense, 455 yards a game, 36 points. Give me the Cardinals.
All right, who are you taking here, Tom?
Look, I like Tyler Shook. I think the Cardinals are the better team. They have good backs in Isaac Brown and Duke Watson. Ja'Cory Brooks did declare for the NFL draft, but I think they have good complementary pieces on this team to get it done against these Huskies. Louisville wins and covers.
Yeah, Louisville finished the season with some pretty big wins over Pitt and Kentucky as far as winning margin goes. Jeff Brom, he gets his first bowl victory here as a coach of his alma mater. Player to watch in this game for me, freshman running back Isaac Brown. He had 1,074 yards and 11 TDs on the ground and averages 7.3 yards per carry for the Cardinals. And he mentioned it. Washington is they've lost so much, and their offense has just fallen off a cliff this season. They're ranked 110th in the FBS as far as offense goes, averaging just 22.5 points per game. There's not many more than 110 teams in the FBS, so not a great look. I'm going Cardinals here. Next up, still in the 31st year, we got Andy's team. It is number 20, Illinois, taking on number 15, South Carolina, in the Citrus Bowl. Low-key one of the most exciting games on this Part 2 card and of all bowl season here, Andy. So you think your boys are taking it home? Run us through this game.
Yeah, this will be a fun one. So, Illinois 9-3, first time they won 9 games since 2007. It's just really cool to be in one of these games, in a New Year's Bowl game. They're wearing the script Illinois helmets for the first time in program history. If you haven't seen those yet, those are fire. They're going to have the work cut out for them in this game. South Carolina is a very, very good team. Finished really close to being in the, college football playoff. Obviously fell a little bit short, but you have Lenore Sellers under center, who is, a threat to hurt you in multiple ways. Their defense has been really solid all year. On the Illinois side of things, you have Altmaier playing. You're going to have the majority of the guys there. You are going to be minus Pat Bryant, who has opted out for a draft preparation. Seth Coleman, I believe, was practicing today. As far as I know, will be playing, but that's another name to watch. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Give me the Illini for the upset. Shock the world. But Altmaier's going to have to spin it. Look for Zachary Franklin to have a big day if Altmaier's not playing. Or I'm sorry, if Pat Bryant's not playing. Duh.
Tom, are you running with Andy's Illini here as well?
To Debbie is down here. The Cox are on a 6-game winning streak, fellas. Lenore Sellers is a dual threat. Raheem Sanders will play with his 11 touchdowns. They have a tight end with 6 touchdown receptions in Josh Simon. Does it sound like I'm going with Illinois so far? Kyle Kennard and Dylan Stewart on each side present a lot of matchup problems for the Illini, but when it comes to Illinois, Luke Altmaier is a baller. He deserves a tremendous amount of respect for what he's done this season. Unfortunately for them, Pat Bryant has opted out of the bowl game. At least that's what's been reported. I think, Andy? Gabe Yakis has 8 sacks on the season. He needs to get to the quarterback. But Lenore Sellers, I think, is too quick on his feet. And, yeah, this is one game where I think South Carolina wins, but they don't cover. I think Illinois will keep it close. I think Josh McCray will get some bread. And overall, I think Illinois is going to have a really, really good 2025. So, Andy, keep your head held high, please.
Yeah, this, like I said, this is one of the matchups I'm most excited for. That's not, one of the playoff games. Two very good teams and a very good matchup here. South Carolina, one of the best teams down the stretch to end the season, and they get a big boost from Lenore Sellers announcing that he will be staying at South Carolina after an absolutely massive NIL bidding war over the QB. It is such a good Illinois team, though. They only had 12 turnovers all season. And you got to think, maybe if Oregon isn't on their schedule and they had another Big Ten team in place of them there, Illinois could have ended the season 10-2 with an argument for a CFP spot. But yeah, I mean, both QBs in this game, they've been phenomenal talents this year. It's going to be a really fun one to watch. Altmaier, like you guys said, 2,500 yards, 21 touchdowns, and then Sellers, 74 through the air and 17 touchdowns, can also get it done on his feet. I think this one's actually going to be pretty close. And because it's in Orlando, maybe if it starts getting out of hand, I'll drive over there and, start jumping on the field to slow South Carolina down to give Andy's team a shot if they go behind early. But no, I'm going to take South Carolina, but I think it's going to be an absolute close squeaker of a game here. So do not be surprised if Andy's Illini pull this one out. To end the 31st, we got one more. It's the Texas Bowl, LSU versus Baylor at 3:30. Andy, who do you like in this one?
Yeah, you got 2 8-4 teams here. A little bit of storyline. Dave Aranda, former LSU defensive coordinator, now the head coach at Baylor, who's been there for a few years, obviously. You have Nussmeier, who I believe is coming back next year. He will play in this game. I don't know. I'm not super sold on Baylor. I know they played really well down the stretch. Give me the Tigers here.
All right, Tom?
Yeah, Nuss coming back, as Andy said. Cade Durham and Josh Williams are that type of Batman and Robin duo, but this offense is pass first now, which is ironic to say on a Brian Kelly coach team. Kyron Lacey has declared for the draft, though, which is a huge factor. I don't know if he's playing in this game or not. That part I don't know, but I'm going to guess that he's not. For Baylor, 6-game winning streak after starting 2-4 on the season. Sawyer Robertson has come a really, really long way. Bryson Washington as well on the ground. Those two have been awesome to watch. For me, it's if Baylor's offensive line can keep up and keep guys like Braden Swinson and Whit Weeks away from the quarterback. This is a bowl game. This is a neutral site game. Surprise, surprise, Baylor wins.
Oh, yeah, I don't know enough about Baylor, honestly. They weren't on, I don't think, any of our cards. They just kind of, flew under the radar, at least as far as, my knowledge of the season goes. But for LSU, I'm not sure how they really get motivated for this game. By their standards, it's kind of been a wasted season. They lost to a USC team that turned out to be really bad. We thought that was going to be, a quality loss on their schedule. Turned out to be much worse than that. Then they lost 3 straight to just about the only teams on their schedule that mattered after that. Bama and Texas A&M being part of that. Nussmeier obviously can sling it. Like you guys said, he has announced he's returning for next season, so that basically guarantees that he'll play in this game. But yeah, it's been a very weird, atypical year for LSU. 4 losses, only 8 interceptions in that secondary. No standout wide receivers, just very un-LSU like. So it's one of those games where under Brian Kelly, that team should dominate. But I really don't know what to think here. So I think LSU probably wins this one, but I would not be shocked if they just do not care about this game at all and Baylor comes out with a win. Moving into 2025 here, we have on January 2nd, the Gator Bowl. It is number 14, Ole Miss versus Duke. Andy, Lane Kiffin's been crying about not making the playoff. Are they going to show up here and destroy Duke here?
Yeah, he's a pussy. All the tweeting saying "Let's go Vols," and then he didn't tweet anything after they were just got curb stomped by Ohio State. Ohio State was pretty funny, but I think they'll get their revenge in this game. Look, guys, Duke is going to be pretty undermanned in this game. Malik Murphy is gone, and now running back Star Thomas has entered the portal. He will not play in this game as well. So yeah, give me Ole Miss. I think they'll be pissed off and have something to prove, and I just don't think Duke is going to have enough.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, look, a Joe Judge-led offense in these Ole Miss Rebels. Let me tell you something. That brings back some excellent fun memories there. If you're a New York Giants fan, Jackson Dart has declared for the NFL draft, but will play in the team's bowl game. Good for him. Threw for 3,800 yards this year, 25 touchdowns to just 6 picks. I know he had a bad game against Florida, guys, but look out for Jackson Dart in this 2025 rookie class. He is a sleeper that nobody is talking about. Trey Harris will not play in the bowl game, his number 1 receiver. So that's a problem, which is interesting, right? The quarterback plays after declaring, but the receiver doesn't. I just find that a little odd. Different situations. But, yeah, Duke is struggling. They lost their QB to Tulane. I'm sorry, they got a QB from Tulane for next season, but they lost their current QB to Oregon State, as Andy mentioned, their running back as well. And also defensively, the Rebels are way, way too much. They have 2 edge rushers and double-digit sacks. Walter Nolan up the middle clogs all those A gaps. Give me Ole Miss. 2 cover that 17-point spread, too.
Yeah, I had the same exact emphasis on that Jackson Dart note there, Tom. Analysis for the draft, but will play. That does spell trouble here for Duke. Obviously Duke's QB situation, obviously not as bright, but I don't know, maybe it's a bit of an advantage to not have Malik Murphy there because he led the ACC in interceptions with 12. So, get some new blood in there. Obviously, they do get Mensa from Tulane next season. They paid a pretty penny for him. I believe it set the NIL record, $8 million over 2 years or something. But yeah, my big thing here is that defensive line of Ole Miss, absolutely bananas. As a team, they had 52 sacks this season, led by Princely, Uman and Suntarine Perkins, each with 10.5. So just absolute monsters on that line. Whoever gets playing time at QB for Duke here, I think it's going to get absolutely destroyed here. So I think I think Ole Miss, and I agree with Tom that they also cover the spread here. Next up, we have the First Responder Bowl. It is Texas State versus North Texas at 4 p.m. Andy, who do you like here?
Yeah, so North Texas finished the season at 6-6, but I believe they had lost 5 straight going in to the last week of the season. They took out Temple to make it to this bowl game, but they are without their starting quarterback, Chandler Morris. He had 3,774 yards and 31 scores on the year. I believe entered the portal and is opted out of the bowl game. Drew Mestamaker, fellas, passed for only 69 yards. Nice. On the year. Will be the starting quarterback. Texas State, they have Jordan McLeod under center, the James Madison transfer. I like the Bobcats to win.
All right, Tom.
I like Texas State. Jordan McLeod's been impressive this season. 29 touchdowns to 12 picks. North Texas, the Mean Green, they're not a bad team. I like Chandler Morris. I think he's played well. DT Sheffield, but man, Texas State, solid team in the Sun Belt. I like them in this one. 1 point line too. That should be a cover, in my opinion.
Yeah, before the transfer announcement there of Morris, I thought we could have had an absolute shootout on our hands, and this would have been a fun one with Morris and McLeod. Chandler Morris was ranked 2nd in the FBS with 509 passing attempts. He was just seemingly allowed to throw the ball at will. And then for Texas State, Jordan McLeod led the Sun Belt with 29 TD passes there. North Texas, though, even without Morris, I think they might be okay. They lost one score shootouts versus Memphis and Tulane this season. Both pretty good squads. They can hang with the good teams, but yeah, I think when you lose your starting quarterback and your mo is to just throw the ball all game long, you're gonna have issues. So I'm gonna go Texas State in this one. Moving on to the Duke's Mayo Bowl. This is the January 3rd, 7:30 game. It is Virginia Tech versus Minnesota. Andy, what are your thoughts here, and who's getting covered in a bunch of Mayo?
Yeah, I think it will be PJ Fleck getting the Mayo dump here. I just trust Minnesota a little bit more in this game. Max Brosmer's been pretty good under center for them with taking care of the ball. 17 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. While Virginia Tech's going to be without Kyron Drones, who was out for the game with an injury. Give me Minnesota at. I'm sure they have some guys in the portal, so I'll say full strength, but you always take that with a grain of salt during bowl season.
All right, what are your thoughts here, Tom?
Oh, at 23 years old, I'm extremely impressed with Minnesota's QB, Max Brosmer, and what he's said to the team over the past week. Real leader among men, fellas. Stress the importance of how guys should play in bowl games. You put everything on the line. For some guys, this is the last time they'll be wearing their school's uniform. For others, this is a thing for years to come. Good first year for PJ Fleck. I think it's only up from here. They had that one point. Was it a 1-point loss to Penn State this year? I think, in fact, 2 of us took Minnesota to win that week on the card. I think it was you and me, Brian. Minnesota -7.5. That looks good to me. I'll take it.
Yeah, both teams have actually had a lot of tight games this year, including losses that could have gone, the other way. Like you just said, that 1-point game with Penn State there. Minnesota lost 4 of its 5 games, 4 of its 5 losses, I should say, in those games by a touchdown or less. Virginia Tech had 5 one-score losses. So this should be a pretty interesting matchup, but both teams could have had completely different seasons if a few of those games, had turned around and gone in their favor. My player to watch here is Virginia Tech's Bashal Tutton. 1,159 yards, 15 touchdowns. He led the ACC in rushing touchdowns. So we'll see how he can get going up against a Gophers rush defense that allowed just 112.6 rushing yards per game. That'll be the interesting matchup here. Yeah, I agree with Andy, though. I think the Mayo's going over Fleck. They're just, the more well-rounded team. I haven't seen much about, portal and transfer action for this game. So I'm also going to assume most people are playing here, and that's going to give me the edge here to Minnesota. Finally, here in our bowl part 2, we have the Paradise Bowl. It is the Bahamas Bowl and the sunny Bahamas, sponsored by Atlantis. It is Liberty versus Buffalo. They are the lucky teams to travel to the Bahamas this year. 11 a.m. this one on January 4th. Andy, who do you like to win this one?
Yeah, the Bahamas Bowl is always fun. There's always like shit going on all around the stadium. They let basically just anybody like walk onto the field. It's crazy, but once again, fellas, we have a team whose starting quarterback has entered the portal and will not play. Caden Slater for the Flames, or Caden Salter, excuse me, is in the portal, will not play. Ryan Berger getting the start, only 48 yards for him on the year. Buffalo's quarterback CJ Agbana has been pretty damn good for the Buffaloes. 2,200 yards, 19 scores, 5 interceptions. Aljay Henderson is a pretty solid option for them out of the backfield. Give me the Buffaloes. They're at 8-4 on the year, and just coming off a drubbing of Kent State in their last game, 43-7. And they won 5 of their last 7 games this year. So yeah, I'll take Buffalo.
All right, Tom.
I also like Buffalo. I think this team's gotten a lot of motivation from watching the pro Buffalo team. Liberty, they are scary even without their QB. Quentin Cooley, just 5'7", but has over 1,200 yards and 13 scores on the season. I think Buffalo needs to emphasize stopping the run. I think they have the more well-rounded team right now with Liberty, losing a couple guys to the transfer portal. So give me Buffalo.
Yeah, Caden Salter, a huge loss here, 47 passing touchdowns. Obviously, like you guys said, in the transfer portal, Ryan Berger, the App State transfer, is going to get the start, it looks like, in his place. I thought Liberty was still the favorite here, but looking at the most recent lines, I think it has flipped. And I think that's the right choice here without Salter. CJ Agbana has been able to provide for the Bulls offense, and don't know too deep into the rosters on either team here. But for this game, every year I always go with the team who seems like they would be the most excited to be in the Bahamas. And I think if you're living in Buffalo, New York, at this time of year, this is the team that's going to go to the tropical paradise, have the best time, and put in the best performance. So I'm going with the Buffalo Bulls to win this one. That will wrap up all of our bowl games here, and we'll jump into our parlays. I believe some of us, myself included at least, will have some of CFP action on the board here, so it might spoil our picks for some of the CFP show. But we're going to run through them anyways. Andy, you're first up on the board. Looks like you got a 5-teamer here. Run us through your parlay.
Yeah, I finally hit one for after the first bowl show, so maybe we can keep that going. But this is a 5-teamer. I got a little crazy here. Over 54.5 BYU in Colorado in the Alamo Bowl. Under 43.5 Bama and Michigan. Louisville minus 2.5 versus Washington. Oregon money line versus Ohio State. Oregon at plus money. Yeah, I'm just going to take it. And then Notre Dame plus 106 against Georgia. $10 to win 286.42.
Love it. Tom, run us through your parlay here.
Yeah, so look, boys, I love Ole Miss with all the Duke guys transferring out. Minus 17.5 looks good. Louisville minus 2.5, similar to Andy. I like Alabama to crush Michigan. Took them at minus 13.5. I want to step above Andy. I took Oregon minus 2.5, plus 124. I love that. I don't know where all this excitement and fascination for Ohio State has come. Did this team not just lose the Michigan guys? Now you have them favored against an undefeated team? What are you thinking? And then Notre Dame plus 7.5. Notre Dame has never lost to Georgia by more than one score. I think this is a lock. Just because I'm picking plus 7.5 does not mean I'm not picking them outright to win the game. We'll see. So I go with that. This is $20 for 413.77.
That was a nice way to hide your actual pick for the CFP episode there. Yeah, for me, Louisville minus 2.5 versus Washington. That Washington offense just not very good. I think Louisville can easily cover that spread. That's at minus 112. Oregon, I had him at plus 2.5, but Tom may have just convinced me to just sell a bunch of points there. Bump this payout up a little bit. But currently sitting at plus 2.5 at minus 108. Texas minus 10 versus Arizona State. Scatabo has been great, but I think this is going to be high scoring enough that it's going to, sort of cancel out any production he has. I think he's going to have at least 2 touchdowns. Spoiler alert there. But Texas minus 10, I think they're just the much better team there. And then Miami versus Iowa State, over 48.5. Bought a bunch of points there just to get it under the 7 touchdown mark. But with Cam Ward back and with Iowa State's offense producing, I think we get a lot of points in that game. That's minus 283. Comes out to plus 709. $25 to win 202.40. That is going to wrap up our bowl game show here. Enjoy these last 17 bowl games, and be sure to check out the CFP quarterfinal episode that'll be posted after this. Look down in the description for my boy Andy Hopper's show, The Brew Party, and to my right, Mr. Tom Scavetta's review and preview show. Those links down in the description. Thank you for watching, and we'll see everyone in the next episode, the CFP quarterfinal.